Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst, joins us, and he is on the line. And Carmi, I'm thinking this week, and I know this has probably been the biggest tech story of the week, has been a testimony in Washington at a Senate committee, and all the major heads of social media companies have been there. So you have your Mark Zuckerbergs and all the other people's names I don't know. They're all there, and they're all being questioned. But the part of this that really stood out to me was yesterday. And by the way, this is over child exploitation, I should mention, right? Not just tech in general. Parents in this Senate room, in the hearing room, holding up pictures of their children who have either been exploited, some sadly have died, and holding these pictures up while they were there in the room. And yesterday we had Mark Zuckerberg, and you saw this, Carmi, I know, actually turn around. This doesn't happen very often, and address the parents directly, and that was a very, very moving moment.
Yeah, he apologized to them. Said he, understood their pain, and he apologized to them for what they had been through. Not that he volunteered to apologize. One of the senators, Senator Hawley, asked him if he would, and then he was sort of taken by surprise, and he turned around. But to his credit, he made the best of it, and he at least made that effort, whereas previously he has basically refused to do so. So, we've seen this kind of thing before, committee meetings on Capitol Hill. We've seen similar ones in Parliament, on Parliament Hill as well in Ottawa. And they're always the same. It's I call it a dog and pony show. It's basically political theater designed to show that our leaders they get the tech thing, and they're holding big tech to account. And they usually ask pretty benign questions, and they get pretty benign answers.
Well, hold on, Carmi. Did you say political theater? Did I hear you use those two words? Go ahead. Here's John Kennedy. Listen to this.
Does your user agreement still suck?
I'm not sure how to answer that, Senator.
Can you still have a dead body and all that legalese where nobody can find it? You track people who aren't even Facebook users. You track your own people, your own users who are your product, even when they're not on Facebook. I mean, it's creepy.
I have no idea what he's talking about, but there's political theater for you. He's the Republican from Louisiana challenging Mark Zuckerberg. This end-user agreement thing has been going on for how many years? Do you know what's in your end-user agreement?
Yeah, that's the thing that pops up when you first install the app that no one bothers reading because they just want to click OK. But it is filled with huge amounts of legalese, most of which even trained lawyers wouldn't understand, and it makes it very clear. Facebook and Meta and every other app that they own will happily mine your device and your activities for every last piece of data they can, and they'll sell it to companies that you don't even know exist, and that's always been the sort of the fuel of the industry, and unfortunately, that is the foundation on which a lot of the abuse that was being discussed in that committee meeting yesterday it takes place, and so. I think that the problem here is that there are no laws that force these companies to behave better. And I'm hoping that yesterday, which was a watershed event, it was really the first hearing that we've seen that really had that kind of impact on those who attended. And they sort of realized you really are messing up people's lives and things really do need to change. I am hoping that a lot of those senators went to bed last night and thought long and hard about their role in allowing big tech to make the rules and not holding them accountable. And I'm hoping that that is the first step toward better laws, not only in the U.S., but in Canada, because I'd like to think our lawmakers are watching as well, and that globally elected officials will realize we're 20 years into the social media era. It's time to get real about laws that hold these companies accountable because people are being hurt and they are dying, and that's got to stop.
And if we're getting real about it, we're not doing what we need to be doing here in Canada. So, I mean, I guess at least if they do something in the States, hopefully we would follow suit.
Right on. Yeah, we usually do. And Canada doesn't really tend to be a leader in terms of tech-centric legislation. I wish we were, but we're just not big enough to really rate on a global scale. But we do tend to follow the lead of other larger jurisdictions. And so if they introduce a law a couple years later, we'll do the same thing. I look to Europe for a lot of guidance in this. So, for example, the UK already has similar legislation about protecting kids in the digital space. Further afield, Australia has a similar law. The EU has moved forward. So there's plenty of examples out there, and certainly Canada wouldn't be starting from scratch. And I'm really hoping, especially as we get ready for the federal election, that these are questions that we ask candidates who ask for our vote. If they can't give me a straight answer on their policies on technology and protecting society, guess what? They're not going to get my vote.
Let me move on to a story that's, I guess, half tech, half health sector. Elon Musk, though, is involved in this. So the company is called Neuralink. And for the first time ever, right, a brain chip was installed in a human. And that's all I know. And I know he's still alive, but what else do we know about the story?
Yeah, because Elon Musk famously doesn't believe in PR departments or issuing press releases. He doesn't even hire people for that. We found out about it from his X account, his Twitter account. He just posted saying that the first human received an implant from Neuralink and is recovering well. Initial results show promising neuron spike detection. So basically, they took something that's a little bit larger than a coin, put it into someone's brain, whoever it is, we don't know, and that it is showing signs of electrical activity. The brain is responding well to it. They did it safely. We don't have any more details beyond that. We do know that this is part of a human trial 6-year program that the FDA had given approval for. But we also know that Neuralink has some questionable sort of moments with animal testing, where a lot of the monkeys who were being tested died. They were cited for transportation issues, cruelty during transportation, and those investigations continue. So I'm kind of hoping that this offers hope, at least the beginning, for someone who may, for example, may be paraplegic, yet unable to walk, restore that capability. But again, this is Elon Musk, so I'm always very careful about what he says and how he says it, because I don't take anything the guy says at face value, and I don't think anyone should.
All right, just and I've not even seen this story, so maybe real quick you could explain this. The headline is, New York City has designated social media as, quote, a public health hazard. What is this about?
They have a health commissioner who issued a report basically saying there's a mental health crisis in the city, and much of it is being fueled by social media, especially with our young kids. And this there's a direct through line from this to those hearings in Washington. It's being recognized in one of America's largest, most influential cities. Ultimately, it doesn't really mean anything because New York City isn't going to do a whole lot that's going to affect anyone else. But if it's recognized at this level that it isn't just an annoyance, but it's a public health hazard, it can certainly influence other jurisdictions to maybe look at crafting better laws that protect our kids a little bit better against these technology companies.
Interesting. And what you're right. What teeth does it have? And the answer, I guess, is none. But at least
it's
there's an influential role that they can play. So we'll follow that.
Think
Carmi,
about
Levy.
Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon doing that here, saying it's a public health issue.
It gets us talking. You're right.
Exactly.
Carmi?
We need more politicians to do that wherever they live.
Well, that's true. Carmi, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.